You're not questioning God's power. You're questioning whether it's still meant for you. And that question didn't come from rebellion. It came from being tired of trying. You've been doing what you know how to do. You show up. You pray when you remember. You push yourself through days that feel repetitive and heavy. You tell yourself to be patient, to be grateful, to trust the process. But inside, there's a quiet frustration that keeps growing because nothing around you seems to be changing. Same problems, same pressure, same waiting. And after a while, hope starts to feel unrealistic. You didn't stop believing in God. You just stopped expecting much. Expectation costs energy, and you don't have much left. So you lower the bar. You tell yourself, maybe this is just how it is. You stop praying big prayers, not because you don't care, but because you're tired of getting your hopes up and then having to recover from the disappointment. People say, with God, all things are possible, and you nod, because you know the words are true. But when you look at your life, your bank account, your relationship, your mental state, your unanswered prayers, it feels disconnected from reality. That sentence sounds beautiful, but far away, like it applies to miracle stories, not slow, messy lives like yours. The truth is, most people don't lose faith in one dramatic moment. They lose it slowly, in small, quiet ways. When they pray and nothing happens. When they wait and nothing moves. When they keep doing the right thing and still feel stuck. Over time, faith becomes something you believe in theory, but not something you expect to show up on a random Tuesday afternoon. What makes this exhausting is that you've already tried. You've already put in effort. You've already been patient longer than you thought you could. So when someone tells you to just trust God more, it feels unfair. Like they're ignoring how much you've already carried. You're not asking for an easy life. You're just asking for a sign that this effort is leading somewhere. Here's the part that rarely gets said out loud when life stays hard for too long. You don't quit because you're weak. You quit because constantly hoping without results wears you down. And God is not blind to that. He's not watching you struggle and thinking you're failing. He sees the fatigue. He sees the disappointment. He sees the way you keep going even when you don't feel inspired or confident anymore. With God, all things are possible was never meant to mean that everything will change overnight. Sometimes the possible thing God is doing is smaller, quieter, and less obvious. Sometimes it's not the situation shifting yet, but you still showing up without breaking, still choosing honesty instead of numbness, still getting out of bed even when motivation is gone. Those things don't look spiritual, but they matter. You may be frustrated because you expected life to look different by now. More stable, more clear, less heavy. You wonder if you missed your chance, made the wrong choices, or waited too long. But God doesn't measure your life by speed or comparison. He's not rushing you, and He's not disappointed that you're still figuring things out. What feels like falling behind to you often feels like steady formation to Him. Sometimes possibility doesn't show up as a breakthrough. Sometimes it shows up as endurance you didn't think you had. Boundaries you finally set. Clarity you gained through pain. Strength that formed quietly while nothing else changed. Those shifts don't go viral. They don't impress people. But they keep you intact. And that matters more than you realize. If you're honest, part of you is afraid to hope again. Afraid that if you expect more, you'll just end up hurting again. That fear makes sense. But living without expectation slowly drains life of color. You don't have to force yourself to believe something dramatic. You don't have to pretend you're okay. You just have to be honest about where you are. God doesn't need you to sound strong in your prayers. He doesn't need perfect faith or big declarations. He meets you in ordinary moments, in frustration, in quiet questions, in tired prayers whispered more out of habit than confidence. Possibility doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you stop pretending you're fine. Your life doesn't have to look miraculous for God to be working. Growth is still happening even when progress is slow. Direction is still forming even when the path isn't clear. The story isn't over just because this chapter feels repetitive and heavy. So if you're standing in a place where you don't see how things could change, you're not broken. You're human. And with God, possibility doesn't mean everything suddenly makes sense. It means your situation is not locked. Your future is not sealed. And your effort is not wasted. Not yet. Not here. Not like this. With God, all things are possible even when it doesn't look like it in your everyday life.